There is a voice within you, a quiet, unrelenting whisper that does not speak in the language of logic or fear or doubt. It speaks in the frequency of joy, in the pulse of excitement, in the sacred electricity that shivers up your spine when you imagine something greater, something truer, something that calls to you not with words but with feeling. That whisper is not a whim. It is not a distraction. It is not a fleeting desire to be brushed away by responsibility or the weary chance of someday. That whisper is the universe itself, inviting you back to alignment. Your highest excitement is not a luxury. It is your compass. It is not the indulgence of a restless mind. It is the signature of your soul. That which excites you most deeply, most sincerely, is not random. It is revelation. It is the way life reveals where your path is waiting, already prepared, already sacred, already humming with the energy of your purpose. But so often we silence it, we bargain it away for security, we drown it in the voices of others. We tell ourselves it must wait until we have permission, until we've earned our worth, until the world gives us a sign. But here is the truth, the sign is already within you, and it always has been. Rumi once said, respond to every call that excites your spirit. He didn't say respond to every call that makes sense. He didn't say respond to every call that is approved by your parents or validated by society. He said respond to what excites your spirit, because your spirit knows. It always has. And when you follow that thread of joy, it will lead you not away from life, but deeper into it. Into the life that was always meant for you. Not the one you were taught to survive, but the one you came here to live. The ego fears the unknown. It clings to the familiar, even if the familiar is pain. But the soul rejoices in expansion. It yearns to grow. It hungers to express itself freely, vividly, uniquely. And it does so not through force or pressure or obligation, but through what excites it. When you follow your excitement, you align with the intelligence of the universe itself. You stop trying to push the river, and you begin to float with it. Doors open, not because you fought for them, but because you arrived with the key, the frequency of your joy. There is no randomness to this calling. That which lights you up is not a coincidence. It is communication. It is life through you, as you, calling you home. And yet, we hesitate. We wait. We ask for more proof. But the soul doesn't offer guarantees. It offers guidance. Not through maps, but through music, through rhythm, through resonance. And your job is not to control the path, but to respond to the music. Your highest excitement is not the end goal. It is the next step. It is the green light at the next breath, the soft nudge towards something that enlivens you, expands you, deepens your aliveness. And as you take that step without needing to know the whole staircase, more of the path is revealed. This is how the universe works, not by outlines and blueprints, but by synchronicity and vibration, by response, by trust. You show up in your joy, and life meets you there. But to follow your highest excitement, you must release the grip of who you thought you had to be. You must be willing to disappoint the expectations of others to fulfill the calling of your soul. You must understand that the path of truth often looks nothing like the path of convention, and that is exactly what makes it holy. Every moment offers you a choice, alignment or agreement, truth or comfort, expansion or stagnation. When you choose your highest excitement, you are choosing to live as a co-creator, not a reactor. You are choosing to trust the divinity within you more than the opinions around you. You are choosing to live from your soul, not just in service to the world, but as an expression of the divine itself. This is not selfish, it is sacred. Because the more alive you are, the more life you bring to the world. The more lit you are by joy, the more you illuminate others. You are not here to shrink, you are here to shine. And you shine most brightly when you are doing what brings you most alive. You have been taught that life is a duty, not a dance. That purpose is pain, not passion. That the divine is found in suffering, not in joy. But I tell you this, the universe did not place you here to be a cog in a machine. It placed you here to be a vessel of light. And that light is not found in your performance, it is found in your presence. Your highest excitement is not a detour, it is your direction. And the moment you begin to trust it, truly trust it, your life will begin to rearrange itself in ways your mind could never predict. Synchronicities will appear, support will emerge, and the impossible will begin to feel inevitable. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped resisting what was always meant to be. Follow what excites you. even if it scares you. Follow what expands you, even if it challenges you. Follow what feels true, even if it asks you to leave behind what no longer island, because your freedom lies on the other side of that yes. Not the yes you give to please others, but the yes you give to the soul, to the whisper, to the dance, to the fire that flickers quietly beneath your ribs, waiting, just waiting for you to say, I remember. And when you say yes to that, everything begins. You were never meant to trade your radiance for routine. You were never meant to dull your glow to become acceptable. The oak tree does not apologize for growing tall. The sun does not shrink for the comfort of shadows. You were made to rise not through striving, but by simply allowing the light within you to lead. There is a rhythm beneath the chaos of the world, a quiet hum that lives below the surface of your thoughts. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it doesn't compete. It waits patiently, lovingly. It is the rhythm of your soul's true desire. And every time you listen to your highest excitement, you tune back into that divine rhythm. You dance again with the universe. You become the music instead of just the movement. And yet, there is a part of you that clings. It clings to the known, to the secure, to the rehearsed life you've built on borrowed beliefs. This is the ego's lullaby, a song of smallness disguised as logic. But logic can never hold the immensity of your being. No spreadsheet can account for your joy. No resume can capture your soul's longing. Your spirit does not speak in bullet points. It speaks in goosebumps, in tears that arrive without warning, in breathless awe, in moments when time vanishes and only presence remains. These are not distractions. They are breadcrumbs, clues from the infinite guiding you home. To follow your highest excitement is not to abandon reason, but to remember trust. Trust in the unseen intelligence that shaped galaxies without blueprints. Trust in the same energy that causes birds to migrate and stars to explode in beauty. That force lives in you. And when you say yes to your joy, you say yes to that power flowing through you unimpeded. But this path is not without its illusions. The world may call you foolish. It may label your excitement as irresponsible, immature, or naive. But those voices are not speaking from truth. They speak from fear. Fear of what cannot be controlled. Fear of what cannot be predicted. But your soul did not come here to be predictable. It came to be real. And realness, that sacred, trembling honesty, is the gateway to freedom. You do not have to justify what brings you alive. You do not need permission to be what you already are. The daffodil needs no approval to bloom. The waterfall seeks no validation to plunge freely into the abyss. Why then do you hesitate? Why then do you ask the sleeping world to bless your awakening? The only blessing you need is already within you. It is felt every time your chest opens with awe, every time your hands move in creative devotion, every time your body tingles with possibility. That feeling is your alignment with Source. That feeling is a divine speaking through you, saying, this is it, right here, right now, more of this. But you must choose it. Again and again, in 1,000 small moments, you must choose the path of expansion over the path of convenience. You must be willing to outgrow your old life, to shed the skin of who you were in order to reveal who you are becoming. Not because the old was wrong, but because it is complete. You are not abandoning yourself, you are ascending into yourself. And in this ascension, there will be grief. Not the grief of loss, but of transformation. A holy ache as you loosen your grip on what no longer resonates. A sacred tenderness as you watch the familiar dissolve. To make space for the infinite. This too is part of the journey. Let it come. Let it cleanse. Let it strip away everything that is not rooted in truth. And what remains will astonish you. Not because it is grand, but because it is real. Not because it is loud, but because it is you, unmasked, undiluted, undisturbed by the need to become. You will begin to see with different eyes. You will notice the texture of life, the subtle beauty of the wind, the soft intelligence in every leaf, the poetry etched into the lines of your own palms. Everything begins to feel connected because it always was. You just weren't still enough to see it. Your highest excitement will lead you here to this deepening, this remembering, this sacred noticing. And from this place, you don't need to chase success. You become successful in your being. You don't need to manufacture meaning. You exude it through your presence. You don't need to search for love. You radiate it effortlessly from the center of your essence. What once felt like effort now becomes flow. What once required motivation now arises as inspiration. What once felt separate now returns to the whole. Let yourself be led by what stirs you. Let your feet wander where your heart has always wanted to go. Let your days become a string of soul yeses. And if you ever wonder what to do next, what choice to make, what step to take, ask yourself with reverent honesty, what would thrill me most if I trusted the universe completely? And then do that. What would it look like to truly trust? To surrender, not in resignation, but in reverence. To place your life not as a burden to be carried, but as a song to be sung by the wind of divine impulse. You see, your highest excitement is not random. It is orchestrated by the same silent architect that paints galaxies with light. It is the language of the infinite, translated into emotion. It is the echo of the divine whispering, this way, this way. And the more you listen, the more you find that life is not a maze to be solved. It is a melody to be remembered. You are not here to figure everything out. You are not here to earn your right to be alive. You are not here to get it right. You are here to feel your way back to what is real. And what is real is what enlivens you without reason. What is real is what moves through you like breath that was never yours to begin with. But the world has taught you otherwise. It has taught you that logic is the master, that safety is the goal, that joy is the reward at the end of exhaustion. And so you've performed, you've conformed, you've worn the mask with such devotion that you forgot you were ever born free. And now, in this moment, the invitation returns, the sacred invitation to step off the stage of approval and back into the wilderness of your being. Do you remember how it felt before the world told you who to be? When you danced because you had to, not because someone was watching? When you spoke to the sky and trusted it was listening? When you followed your impulses not because they were practical, but because they were true? That part of you is not gone. It is not dead. It has simply been waiting for this breath, this willingness, this crack in the wall you've built around your authenticity. And through that crack, light is seeping in. Not the blinding light of ambition, but the soft glow of remembering. The soul does not want a plan, it wants presence. It does not ask for credentials. It asks for courage, the courage to follow the thread of what feels right, even when it doesn't yet make sense. Especially then, because in that not knowing, something ancient awakens, the deeper self, the eternal self, the self that was never wounded, never lost, never separate. This is not about abandoning your life. It is about embodying it more fully, bringing your essence into every action, your joy into every moment, your truth into every choice. Even the small ones, especially the small ones, you begin to dress not for attention, but as an expression of your spirit. You begin to eat not out of habit, but in communion with your body. You begin to speak not to fill silence, but to honor it. And in doing so, every aspect of your life becomes sacred. This is the power of living from your highest excitement, not that you escape the world, but that you illuminate it with the light of your presence. And yes, the old will rise, the doubts, the habits, the conditioned voices that say, this is too much, you are too much, stay small, stay safe. But you no longer have to believe them. You can greet them with compassion, but not compliance. You can say to them, thank you for trying to protect me. But I am no longer interested in surviving. I am here to thrive. Because thriving is not a luxury, it is your nature. When a flower blooms, it does not apologize for outgrowing the bud. When a bird flies, it does not mourn the shell it left behind, and neither should you. You are not betraying your past by evolving, you are fulfilling its promise. And as you follow your highest excitement, something extraordinary happens. The path you once feared begins to feel like home. The uncertainty you once resisted becomes the very space where miracles unfold. You realize you were never lost, you were only layered, and now, one by one, those layers fall away. Not in violence, but in grace. Not in force, but in surrender. And underneath it all, you discover the one who never stopped waiting, the one who never gave up, the one who knew beyond all appearances that something beautiful was on its way. You, not the version of you crafted for the world, but the version that was crafted by the stars. So walk now, not quickly, not urgently, but reverently. Every step you take in the direction of your highest joy is an offering. Every breath you draw in alignment is a prayer answered before it was even spoken. And every act of authenticity, no matter how small, is a revolution. Because when one soul dares to live freely, it gives permission for others to do the same. Let your life be that permission. Let your laughter be that permission. Let your tears, your dance, your silence, your art be that sacred reminder that it is not only possible to follow your highest excitement, it is the very reason you were born. There is a sacred intelligence that lives within the quiet nudges, the unexplained longings, the magnetic pull towards something you've never quite named but have always known. It is not logic, it is not thought. It is not born from calculation. It is born from resonance. It stirs in the space before the thought, in the shiver before the action, and it is the map etched not on paper, but in the pulse of your own becoming. To walk in alignment with your highest excitement is to live in partnership with mystery. It is to release your demand for certainty and instead develop a taste for wonder. Wonder is not naivete, it is reverence for life, unfolding as it was always meant to. Wonder is how the soul breathes. And when you follow your joy without demanding that it prove itself first, you make space for wonder to guide your steps. You are not here to replicate the patterns that have been passed down to you. You are here to interrupt them with love. You are here to awaken dormant dreams not only in yourself, but in those who have forgotten how to dream. There is no act more revolutionary than choosing to live in joy amidst a culture of complaint. No gesture more holy than to wake up in the morning and decide, today I will follow what makes me feel alive. The world does not need more strategies, it needs more souls who are lit from within, more beings who choose integrity over imitation, alignment over achievement, presence over performance. And you become such a being not through force but through surrender, through listening, through honoring the voice that calls not from above but from within. And yes, there will be moments of resistance, not because you are broken, but because you are brushing against the edges of your conditioning. Growth is not always a blaze of inspiration. Sometimes it is a quiet unraveling. Sometimes it is sitting in the discomfort of not knowing who you are without your old fears. Sometimes it is pausing long enough to feel what you spent a lifetime avoiding. But make no mistake, this is progress. This is evolution. This is sacred shedding. And in the shedding, what emerges is not new, it is true. It is the self that existed before the world told you who to be. The self that does not seek validation because it remembers it was born valid. The self that does not beg for love because it knows it is made of it. That self is not a distant goal. It is a presence already within you, waiting not for your effort but for your openness, not for your striving but for your softening. When you follow what excites you most, you do not escape responsibility, you expand your responsibility. You become more capable of presence, of contribution, of love, because you are no longer drained by the internal war of living a life that is not yours. You begin to give not from depletion, but from overflow. You serve not from duty, but from delight. And from that place, everything becomes sacred. The conversations you once rushed through become containers of healing. The mundane tasks you used to resent become acts of devotion. The body you once judged becomes a temple of sensation, a vessel through which life gets to be felt, experienced, revered. You are not here to run through your days like a list of chores. You are here to feel your way through them like a symphony. And the melody that guides you is your joy, unforced, unfiltered, unapologetically yours. Do not mistake this path for comfort. It is not about being coddled. It is about being called. Called into a life that demands your presence, your courage, your honesty. Called into a deeper encounter with yourself. And from that encounter, you do not emerge with answers. You emerge with aliveness. And aliveness is the proof. Aliveness is the reward. Aliveness is the moment you look around and realize you are no longer surviving your life, you are inhabiting it. You are no longer waiting for peace, you are breathing it. You are no longer searching for signs, you are becoming one. You are the signal you've been waiting for. You are the permission you've been seeking. You are the unfolding. And so, follow what enlivens you, not with urgency, but with devotion. Not as a detour, but as your direction. Not because it makes sense, but because it makes you again and again, in every breath, in every step, in every quiet choice, to trust what the world cannot yet see. The mind will ask, what if I fail? But the soul knows there is no such thing. There is only the unfolding of experience, only the refining fire of risk, only the alchemy of showing up not with answers, but with authenticity. What the world calls failure, the soul recognizes as expansion. A detour is never wasted when it brings you closer to truth. A stumble is not a mistake when it deepens your humility and widens your compassion. To follow your highest excitement is to make peace with the unknown, not to conquer it, but to fall in love with it. To learn how to live not at the edges of certainty, but in the open field where miracles are still possible. You begin to realize that joy is not found at the end of the road, it is the road. Every moment lived in alignment is a destination unto itself. Every choice made from truth is a fulfillment of your purpose. And what is your purpose? It is not a single act. It is not a role to perform or a job to secure. Your purpose is presence. Your purpose is the full embodiment of your being, expressed moment by moment in the way you move, the way you speak, the way you love, the way you create. Your purpose is not a point on a map. It is the radiance that lights the entire path. So let go of the myth that you must find it elsewhere. It is already within you, woven into the fabric of your aliveness. And the way you access it is to follow the golden thread of your excitement. There is a place in you where the divine sings without words, a place untouched by time, unburdened by fear. This place does not care what others think of you. It does not ask how much money you've earned, how many likes you've gathered, how many accolades decorate your story. This place only cares, are you awake, are you listening? Are you honoring the frequency of your own becoming? And if the answer is yes, even once, even for a moment, you will feel it, the expansion, the breathlessness of truth, the holy trembling of being so utterly present that you forget how to pretend. You see, pretending is what keeps the world asleep. Pretending to be okay when your heart aches. Pretending to be certain when you're full of wonder. Pretending to fit in when your soul longs to stand out. And what breaks the spell of this sleep is not resistance, but realness. A single act of honesty can unravel years of self-abandonment. A single moment of true excitement can realign you with the very reason you came here. You did not come here to impress. You came here to express. You did not come here to endure. You came here to embody. You did not come here to survive. You came here to remember who you are, where you come from, and why your joy matters. And it does matter, not just to you, but to the whole. Because your joy is not separate from the fabric of existence, it is the fabric. When you honor it, you uplift the vibration of everything. You become a tuning fork for the cosmos, a living, breathing affirmation that the divine is not only real, it is here, it is now, it is you. So speak your truth, not because it is safe, but because it is sacred. Walk your path, not because it is easy, but because it is yours. And trust your joy, not because it promises ease, but because it never lies. Joy is the language of alignment. It is the signature of yes. It is the signpost that you are not lost, you are being led. Led not by the hand of fate, but by the heart of your own being. So if the way forward is unclear, don't panic, don't grasp, don't fall back into the comfort of misalignment. Instead, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, not with desperation, but with reverence, what feels most alive for me now? What feels like truth, like freedom, like a door waiting to be opened from the inside? And then walk through it, even if your voice trembles, even if your hands shake. Walk through it as if the whole universe is watching because at Island, and not with judgment, but with joy. Joy that you are beginning to remember. Joy that you are choosing life not as it was taught to you, but as it was meant to be lived. Then let us bring this sacred current home, not with an ending, but with a return to that eternal place within you that never left, never changed, never stopped waiting. For in truth, every step of this journey, the longing, the hesitation, the awakening, the release, has not been about adding to who you are, but subtracting everything that is not you. Like a sculptor who chisels away the stone, not to create the statue, but to reveal it. What you have been seeking is not a life you must earn, but a truth you must allow. You are not becoming, you are uncovering. And what is revealed in the light of your highest excitement is a being so luminous, so sovereign, so perfectly aligned, that even the stars pause to listen. This being is not a future self. It is not a fantasy. It is you right now, without the masks, without the tension, without the exile from your own joy. There is a softness in this truth, a mercy that asks for nothing but your presence. The world may demand performance, but the soul simply asks you to be. And in that being, something opens not outside, but within, a door you never saw, leading to a place you've never left. And when you step through that inner door, when you say yes not just to the idea of your excitement, but to its embodiment, you become the path. You no longer walk toward alignment, you become its living expression. You speak and the air responds. You move and the moment expands to meet you. You stop searching for the divine and begin to realize you are walking as it. Let every breath be your permission. Let every heartbeat be your guide. Let every whisper of joy be a sacred directive from the infinite. And know this, beloved soul, the life you were born to live has been waiting for you, not at the end of effort, but at the beginning of trust. The universe has never stopped conspiring in your favor. It only needed you to say yes to the real, the wild, the luminous self that never forgot why it came. You are not here to walk a borrowed path. You are not here to repeat old stories. You are here to become the living poem your soul wrote before you were born. You are here to be so full of yourself that the world remembers how to breathe again. Follow your highest excitement, not as a strategy, but as a sacrament. Let it lead you where logic cannot. Let it break the rules of smallness and ignite the holiness of your presence. For what could be more sacred than a life fully lived? And so now, as you listen to the rhythm of your own breath, as you feel the stillness that has settled around this moment, know this: nothing more needs to be found. No more signs, no more striving, only this truth. The signal has always been joy, and it has always pointed right back to you. Welcome home. There is a river beneath your life, silent and steady, a current not bound by the hours on your watch or the ticking of the world's demands. It flows beneath every breath you take, every detour you judge, every waiting room you resent. It is the current of divine timing. And though it may not move by the logic of your calendar, it has never once failed to arrive on time. You have been taught to believe in deadlines and timetables in the race to get ahead, but the soul does not run on clocks. The soul unfolds like the seasons, effortless, inevitable, and impossibly wise. It does not bloom just because the world says now. It blooms because the light within has found its perfect hour to rise. You are not behind. You have never been behind. That ache you feel when things haven't arrived yet, that is not failure. That is your deeper knowing preparing you to receive. It is not a punishment. It is a pause, a divine breath waiting for you to come into alignment with what has always been yours. Imagine a tree scolding itself for not blooming in January. Imagine the moon grieving for not being full every night. Nature knows better than to rush. It trusts the rhythm of its becoming, and so must you. There is something happening in the unseen that your senses cannot yet grasp. Doors are forming where there were only walls. Seeds are stirring beneath the soil of your life, gathering the strength to break through, not because you pushed, but because you trusted. Because you stopped clawing at the timing and began surrendering to the wisdom of your own becoming. You have mistaken delay for denial. But delay is often the divine's greatest act of love. It is not saying no, it is saying, not yet. You are not being kept from it. You are being prepared for it. And what is being prepared is not just the blessing, it is you. You are not waiting for life to begin. Life is waiting for you to shed the illusions that block its light. You think you need to make it happen. But the truth is, life is not something to be forced into form. It is something to be allowed, received, aligned with. There is a deeper intelligence weaving through your days, a wisdom that transcends effort. It is not passive, it is profoundly active, though invisible. Like the tide that moves without being asked, or the stars that rise without being summoned. This intelligence does not miss appointments. It does not lose track of you. It does not forget your name. You are part of its design, not separate from it. And every so-called delay in your life has been the universe's way of saying, wait, there is more coming than you can yet imagine, and it will not arrive in a rush. It will arrive when you are ready to receive, not with your hands, but with your whole being. The ego demands timing. The soul requires trust. The ego stamps its foot and says, why not now? But the soul smiles softly and whispers when the time is ripe, and there is no greater freedom than resting in that ripeness. Then knowing that even in your stillness, you are being moved towards something sacred. Even in your setbacks, you are being redirected to a more aligned path. There have been moments you thought you missed it, the job, the person, the moment that seemed like your only chance, and yet here you are, not ruined, not forsaken, but growing in ways that could not have happened if life had gone your way. Sometimes unanswered prayers are the truest form of grace. Do you think the ocean worries about reaching the shore fast enough? It does not. It knows it cannot be late for its own arrival. It simply moves in rhythm with the moon and touches every grain of sand in time. So too with your life. You do not need to rush. You need to root. You need to trust that what is yours will not pass you. It cannot. Because it was never outside of you. It was always being drawn to the frequency of your being. The more you trust, the more you align. The more you align, the more you magnetize what already belongs to you. The world will try to convince you that you must hustle for your worth, that you must achieve, become, impress, perform. But the divine does not operate in the currency of urgency. The divine operates in presence, in surrender, in the deep, unwavering peace that says, I may not see it yet, but I know it is already on its way. You are not the architect of your destiny. You are the witness of it unfolding. You are not the builder of time. You are the dweller of eternity. What you call delays, the divine calls preparation. What you call detours, the divine calls redirection. What you call failure, the divine calls refinement. And when you look back, and you will see that not one delay was wasted, not one no was cruel. Every twist was a turning. Every pause was a pulsing of the sacred heart within you, timing your arrival not for the world's applause, but for your soul's awakening. Let go of your grip on the clock. Release the pressure to be anywhere other than here. Now is not the enemy of your dreams. It is the cradle in which they are formed. Now is not late. Now is the divine. And the divine is never late. Then breathe now, not as a habit, but as a remembrance. Let this breath not be rushed, not forced, not taken for granted, but received as a sacred whisper of life, reminding you that you are already in the flow. There is no step you have missed. There is no moment that should have come sooner. You are inhaling right on time. Divine timing is not a destination. It is the pulse of the infinite moving through your veins. It does not operate on your ambition, but on your alignment. It listens not to your impatience, but to your readiness. And readiness is not a matter of time, it is a matter of truth. When you peel away the layers of expectation, when you silence the inner voices that insist you must be elsewhere by now, what remains is the profound serenity of being exactly where your soul chose to be. And in that being, you do not find delay, you find depth. Have you noticed how the universe never hurries? The stars were not born in haste. The mountains did not rise overnight. And you're becoming this sacred unfolding of your spirit is not meant to be a sprint, but a sacred unfolding of eternal wisdom expressing itself through time. You were not born to outrun your destiny. You were born to merge with it. And merging requires presence. It requires trust in a rhythm that cannot be measured by clocks or calendars, but only by the resonance in your heart. Do not confuse motion with progress. There are seasons where stillness is the most radical movement, where resting in the unknown is not passivity, but power. It is in those quiet spaces where the world sees nothing happening that the roots of transformation grow deepest. The fruit cannot ripen until the tree has known the quiet dark of soil, the patient work of sun and rain. And so it is with you. You may feel unseen, you may wonder if your path has vanished beneath your feet, but what is happening beneath the surface of your life is more miraculous than you can comprehend. You are not idle, you are incubating. You are not forgotten, you are being fortified. The longer something takes to arrive, the more space is being made within you to receive it, and not merely to receive it, but to become it. For the true miracles are not things we possess, but truths we embody. Your soul is not interested in shallow gains. It seeks the eternal. It longs for a depth that cannot be rushed. And every moment you spend in frustration trying to summon a future that is not yet ripe, you forget that the future is not a prize at the end of your effort. It is a reflection of your inner state. Change your inner frequency, and you alter the orbit of your entire life. Shift from urgency to trust, and watch how the world softens around you. There is nothing more powerful than a human being who has remembered their own divine rhythm and dares to follow it even when the world demands haste. The caterpillar does not doubt the cocoon. It does not fight the stillness or beg the sky for wings. It rests. It dissolves. It allows something sacred to remake it from within. And when the time is true, not a moment too soon, it emerges, transformed. Let that be your metaphor. Let that be your medicine. You are not stuck. You are in the sacred pause before flight. And in that pause, you are being rewired, reshaped, renewed in ways that no external movement could ever provide. Do not rush this metamorphosis. Do not insult the divine with impatience. It is shaping you for a purpose your mind cannot yet conceive. Every delay you've cursed, every detour you've doubted, every closed door you've mourned, they were all necessary notes in the symphony of your life. And the symphony is not meant to be played at double speed. It must be heard, felt, lived. When you slow down enough to listen not to the noise, but to the silence beneath the noise, you begin to sense the divine choreography of your life. You realize that what you thought was random was a rhythm. What you feared was empty, was full. What you resisted was love wearing the mask of time. You are not waiting for your life to begin. Your life is waiting for you to surrender. Not to give up, but to give in. To stop gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles and start allowing the intelligence of the universe to drive. It knows the way. It always has. You are not being led astray. You are being led deeper. And depth is never late. For what is depth if not the courage to remain with yourself in the hollow spaces, those moments when nothing seems to move and yet everything is shifting beneath the surface? This is the paradox of divine timing. It appears as stillness, but it moves like thunder beneath the earth. You cannot always see it, but you are always being moved by it. There are years when it seems nothing blooms. You water your soul with prayers, you till the soil of your life with effort, and still the harvest delays. But beloved soul, not every year is for blooming. Some years are for rooting, for going deeper into the invisible layers of your being where no eye can see and no clock can measure. And in that rooting, you are preparing the foundation for a life that can hold the magnitude of the light you are destined to carry. Divine timing is not about immediate results. It is about eternal resonance. It is not interested in convenience. It is aligned with cosmic precision. The deeper truth is this: life is not unfolding by your plan. It is unfolding by your pattern. And your pattern is woven from every thought you nourish, every truth you honor, every moment you choose trust over fear. You see, timing is not random. It is responsive. It does not obey your demands, but it does mirror your energy. When you emit urgency, the world becomes chaotic. When you breathe trust, life becomes orchestral. Every player knows their part. Every note arrives in harmony. There is music playing beneath your circumstances. But if you are too busy judging the silence, you will miss the sacred crescendo. Divine timing does not play for the impatient. It plays for the aware. This awareness is your only real task, not to force outcomes, but to feel your way into alignment. And when you do, life begins to meet you with elegance. People arrive not a moment early, not a moment late. Doors open with a whisper. Answers find you when you have stopped asking from fear and begun listening from peace. Do not curse the empty room. It is where the divine arranges your furniture. Do not despise the locked gate. It is where the divine tends to your garden. You are not being punished by the pauses in your life. You are being polished. Polished in silence, polished in solitude, polished in the sacred waiting room of transformation. The oak tree inside the acorn does not ask for a shortcut. It trusts the dark. It trusts the slow unraveling of its potential. And so must you trust that even in your waiting, you are becoming. The truth is, your soul is never late. It is eternal. It is vast. And it is free of the fear that grips the mind and demands speed over meaning. What if the delay you dread is the very protection you need? What if the love that didn't arrive yet was not a rejection, but a redirection towards something more aligned? What if the dream that hasn't manifested is still being shaped, not out there, but in you? You are not here to chase time. You are here to dissolve into the rhythm of a divine intelligence that knows your soul's coordinates, even when you feel lost, that has charted every storm, every sunbeam, every surrender that will lead you to your greatest unfolding. And when you finally arrive, when that long-awaited blessing touches your hands, it will not feel rushed. It will not feel overdue. It will feel like it was always meant to be, because it was. Not because you controlled it, but because you became it. This is the sacred alchemy of divine timing. It does not bring you what you want when you want it. It brings you what you are when you are ready to hold it in truth, not just in desire. So trust the slow magic. Trust the invisible weaving. Trust that right now, this very breath, is not a pause in your story. It is a paragraph the universe is still writing with exquisite care. Can you feel it? The truth behind the tension, the knowing behind the noise. You are not waiting. You are becoming, and becoming takes time. Holy, perfect, unhurried time. You were not born into this life to sprint toward imagined destinations. You were born to awaken slowly, like the dawn. And like the dawn, your becoming cannot be rushed by demand, only welcomed by surrender. There is no faster path to the sunrise, only deeper stillness to receive its warmth. Every experience that delays your desires, every pause that interrupts your plans, is not here to withhold the future. It is here to reveal the divine architecture of your becoming. You are being carved, not punished. You are being shaped, not stalled. The delays are not the denial of your truth. They are the deepening of it. Divine timing does not care for surface wants. It cares for the shape of your soul. And so it waits until the vessel of you has grown strong enough, wide enough, soft enough to hold the very thing you once begged for from a place of need. What you call delay, the divine calls protection from a blessing becoming a burden, from a dream arriving to a version of you not yet ready to hold it with reverence. We ask the sky for miracles, but the sky asks us to become the space that can house them. And so the waiting, the aching, the nights when the stars seem too far, these are not punishments. They are ceremonies of preparation. The seed in the soil does not panic in darkness. It listens to the rhythm of the rain. It trusts the silent wisdom of time. And when it breaks through the surface, it does so not in desperation, but in alignment with the sun, with the season, with the sacred whisper of divine order. Your life is no different. The callings in your heart are not empty wishes. They are coded messages from the divine, reminding you of the path your soul signed up to walk. But those callings do not unfold according to ego's urgency. They open in accordance with your energetic readiness. The more you try to rush it, the more it eludes you, not because it is cruel, but because it is too holy to be summoned by force. Divine timing is not interested in speed. It is concerned with sanctity. It does not bring you the next chapter until you have finished reading the current one with open eyes and a soft heart. You cannot skip to the ending and expect the depth of the journey to fill you. Let go of the need to see every turn ahead. You are not the map maker. You are the traveler. And the path unfolds not because you figured it out, but because you trusted the next step even when it appeared invisible. And how many times, beloved soul, have you looked back on the chapters you once mourned, the delays, the breakups, the empty rooms, and seen the hand of grace moving silently behind them all? You did not know it then, but your sorrow was sacred. Your confusion was a corridor. Your longing was not weakness, but prophecy. The divine was never withholding. The divine was weaving people into place, lessons into shape, strength into the softness of your being. You are not merely walking a path, you are becoming the path itself. And that becoming cannot be rushed. It is eternal, it is intimate, it is divinely on time. You are not too late. Not for your healing, not for your joy, not for your miracle. If it has not arrived yet, it is because something greater is still being breathed into form. And that greater is not just the event, it is the you that will greet it. The you that no longer needs to chase. The you that radiates magnetism from presence, not performance. Your magnetism does not lie in how much you do, but in how much you allow. In how deeply you trust the wisdom that forms stars and galaxies to now form the next chapter of your life, not from your striving, but from your surrender. It is in this surrender that divine timing finds its home in you. And when it does, everything aligns. You no longer beg life for evidence. You walk as the evidence. You no longer demand signs. You live as the sign. You no longer seek certainty. You carry it within. Because the deeper you move into trust, the more time begins to bend around you. You find yourself in the right places at the right moments with the right people, not by effort, but by essence. Not by force, but by frequency. Your life becomes a prayer not spoken, but embodied. This is not fantasy. This is the physics of the soul. The more you remember who you are, timeless, divine, already whole, the less you grip the reins of time, and the more time begins to serve your becoming. Divine timing is never late because it does not operate on the ego's calendar. It arrives when your inner world is ripe, and when it does, what once seemed impossible now feels inevitable. So do not resist the waiting. Do not shame the pause. Do not abandon the quiet season. It is in these sacred still points where the soul grows its deepest roots, where clarity returns like the morning sun after the longest night. And when the moment arrives, the one you've prayed for, cried for, dreamed into being, it will arrive not as a reward for your suffering, but as a natural extension of your alignment. You will not need to grab for it. It will be placed into your hands like a gift already written in your stars. Because what is written for you is not rushed. It is revealed. And when it is revealed, you will know without a doubt, without a clock, that divine timing was never late. It was waiting for you to become the version of yourself who could finally receive what was never withheld, only sacredly delayed. We are taught to hurry as though salvation lives in speed, as though joy can be caught like a bus you're about to miss. But joy does not wait at the end of acceleration. It flowers in presence. It grows in the garden of patience, nurtured by trust and tended with silence. What the mind calls wasted time, the soul knows as sacred gestation. You do not plant a seed and demand the tree overnight. You do not bake a loaf and scream at the oven to hurry. You understand that transformation, true and lasting, honors the timing of essence, not expectation. And so it is with your life. There are chambers within you still being prepared to hold the light you've prayed for. There are patterns unraveling so quietly that you may mistake their undoing for stagnation. But listen closely beneath what seems unmoving. Your soul is shifting mountains. You do not have to see it to believe it. You only have to trust the nature of all things sacred. They begin in silence. The miracle grows in the womb of waiting. The lotus blooms from the deepest mud. And the most profound awakenings come not with fire, but with stillness. That is the paradox of divine timing. It feels like nothing until it feels like everything. One day what you've been calling delay will reveal itself as perfect arrival. The doors that wouldn't open weren't broken, they were being aligned. The people who left weren't punishment, they were space makers. The prayers that went unanswered weren't ignored, they were stored, nourished by something far wiser than the mind. We forget sometimes that we are made of the same essence as stars born from stardust, sustained by breath, guided by light. And just as the stars cannot rush their own birth, neither can you. Your light is rising, quietly, surely, and not all will understand the timing of your glow. Some will say you should have arrived by now. Others will wonder why it's taken so long. But divine timing is not democratic. It does not seek votes of approval. It is a whisper between your soul and the source from which it came. And that whisper is saying, now is not too late, now is not too early, now is the only moment you are meant to be in. There is no milestone that defines your worth, no benchmark that validates your belonging. The oak does not envy the speed of the rose. The river does not compete with the clouds. Each flows, each grows, each becomes what it is meant to become in perfect rhythm with the divine intelligence that authored their design. And you are authored by the same hand. Why do you doubt what already knows its way? Why do you resist the very timing that has carried you this far? What if your only real task is not to speed up the process, but to sanctify it? To bless each step, not for where it's taking you, but for who you are becoming as you walk it. The cocoon does not apologize for its quiet. It does not hurry to prove its transformation. It surrenders utterly, completely to the process that only stillness can facilitate. And when the wings are ready, they emerge not with struggle, but with grace. Let this be your reminder. Nothing holy is ever late. No sacred calling is ever wasted. No true becoming is ever rushed. If you are in a season of waiting, know this: it is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the divine aligning stars you cannot yet see and removing obstacles you didn't know were in your path. It is the sacred hush before the song, the inhale before the poem begins. And when it begins, it will not ask if you're ready. It will arrive when your readiness is no longer a question, but a presence, a quiet yes that lives not in your words, but in your energy. You will no longer need to chase. You will no longer need to beg life for openings. You will have become the opening. You will have become the space through which divine timing enters the world fluid, effortless, and profoundly on time. So release your grip on the clock. Breathe deeper into the now, and listen not with your ears, but with your whole being as the sacred rhythm of your life continues to unfold in perfect time, as it always has. Then come now, beloved soul, to this closing stillness, not as one who has reached an end, but as one who has awakened to the truth that there was never a race to begin with. This journey, so richly layered, so divinely choreographed, was never about getting somewhere. It was always about returning to trust, returning to presence, returning to the perfect patient rhythm of your own becoming. Divine timing is not a concept to be understood. It is a living melody to be felt. And now, as you listen more deeply, can you hear it pulsing within you? Not outside, not in the future, but in the breath you are taking now. This moment is not a stepping stone. It is the sanctuary, the temple, the arrival disguised as ordinary life. All that you have waited for, all that you believed was delayed or lost, it was not waiting to appear. It was waiting for you to stop searching and start remembering. Because in truth, divine timing does not operate in distance. It moves in resonance. And when your energy aligns with what you seek, it arrives not because you chased it, but because you became it. Look gently at the path behind you. Can you see now how every delay was a door, every detour a doorway, every no a blessing not yet translated by the mind? Can you see how what once felt like endings were actually introductions to deeper chapters of yourself? The divine was never withholding from you. It was weaving you into the very answer you were searching for. Even your waiting was sacred because it taught you how to listen, how to surrender, how to trust a rhythm that your calendar could never capture. And in that surrender, you were not weakened, you were fortified. Softened, yes, but with a kind of softness that can move mountains. You did not become less by waiting, you became more. More patient, more aligned, more whole. You have not missed your moment. It has been within you all along. It rises not like a deadline, but like the dawn, unhurried, unstoppable, quietly luminous. And now you understand what the soul has whispered all along. Divine timing is not something you wait for, it is something you become. When you trust, when you surrender, when you no longer measure your worth by outcomes or clocks, you step into harmony with a universe that has never once been late. You are not behind. You are not early. You are exactly where you need to be for your next breath of truth to enter. So breathe, beloved. Inhale the peace of presence. Exhale the story of delay. And walk forward, not fast, not frantic, but rooted in the deep, knowing that every step you take from this place is right on time. Let the world chase what fades. Let your soul dwell in what endures. You do not need to predict the future. You only need to align with the now. And in this now, the sacred becomes visible. In this now, the waiting turns to wonder. In this now, the question dissolves into peace. You are not waiting for your life to begin. You are living it, right here, right now. And this moment is not late. It is divine.
In order to be able to create anything for yourself in your life, you first must be able to conceive of it. And the corollary of that is, if you can't conceive of it, you can't create it. And the problem in trying to teach people to become spiritual masters, enlightened beings, the problem is not in teaching the mechanics of this. The mechanics are really quite simple. What you do is really fairly simple to do. The problem is in convincing people that they have the capacity to do it. Because most of us are stuck in something, now I do have to write this, I'm sorry, something called a paradigm. A paradigm. And a paradigm is a way of thinking or behaving which traps us into believing like the father with his son, into believing a truth because we've had it drilled into us by so many people that we can't think any other way. And that's why I say this first key is so important. You have to be able to let go of your past. And before we take a break, I am going to try to give you, I'm not going to try, I'm going to give you the formula for doing that. You can also get stuck in a paradigm in your life, in lots and lots of areas. Most of us have these kinds of things that we hang on to and that we believe so strongly because we have been conditioned by all of our well-meaning sort of other egos who have shown up in our life to guide us and have directed us on a path that is mostly directed by our lower identities. And while we pay some attention to our higher identities, we usually just do it on Sunday mornings or Saturday evenings. And the rest of the time, we have sort of a whole different way of approaching it. And a paradigm is something... Now, I have a teacher that I work with that is really, I think, a very enlightened being. And he told me, he said, if you want to get out of the paradigms that you're in, and I was like, me? I'm Wayne Dyer. I'm not stuck in anything, all right? He said, well, one of the things you're going to have to learn to do is you're going to have to learn to kill your ego. I said, well, I really can do that. I can kill my ego. I said, what's the test? How do you know when you've killed your ego? He said, well, the test for killing your ego is you check yourself into a dirty, grungy motel room that smells of piss, and you stay in that room until it no longer matters whether you're there or not, and whether anyone visits you or not. And the minimum stay is 3 months. You have to stay until it doesn't matter whether someone visits you or you visit someone else. You just check yourself in. And I said, when? He said, now. I said, well, I got to call. No, you don't call, you do it. I said, well, I already failed the first test. He said, the second test of being able to get out of a paradigm is to get up between 3 and 6 a.m. every day for 2 years. And in that time period, you walk in the woods, and if there's no woods, you walk in the streets without any fear. You abandon fear, and you walk, or you run. In the woods, preferably, and after 2 years, you will know why you are doing it. And I am in that test right now. I've been in it since August the 18th. Another paradigm that I've learned to transcend was when I went through a week of training with Taekwondo. And in Taekwondo, you learn how to use your feet as if they were hands. Now, most of us have been taught that our hands do certain things and our feet do certain things. Our feet are for walking. Our hands are for picking things up. But you can learn in quite a short time if you have banished all of that doubt and opened yourself up and had that willing suspension of disbelief. If you willingly suspend that, you can train your feet to do everything that your hand can do. You can train it to punch, you can train it to pick things up, you can train it to do virtually anything you can do with your hand. And people who lose their hands learn this very fast. So it's like a new paradigm. When you first start trying to pick things up with your feet, or to try to use your feet to manipulate or to punch with or to whatever, you're just all discombobulated. Now, these are just sort of physical things. You can do this in the area of eating. You can do this in the area of your relationships.
I'd like to speak in this program about what I call the rewards for inspiration. Things that will be your payoffs, your prizes, if you decide to move into spirit, into this world of spirit that I'm speaking about here on PBS. Back in the 2,300 or so years ago, we're not quite sure exactly when, there was a great teacher in India. His name was Patanjali. And there are 6 of these things, and I want to cover each one of them in this program. He said, when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all of your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. 3, your consciousness expands in every direction. And 4, you find yourself in a new and a great and a wonderful world. Dormant forces faculties and talents come alive. And 6, you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. Those are the rewards. It's not like you're going to win the lottery. It's not, and you may. It's not that somebody's going to come riding into your life on a white horse or whatever. These are the rewards. These are the things that are going to be so powerful for you. All of your thoughts break their bonds. All of your thoughts break their bonds. What do we mean by your bonds? Your bonds are the thoughts that you have that keep you disconnected from your source. They are thoughts that are out of harmony with spirit, with God consciousness, with God realization. Because this is basically about being like God, being like source, being like spirit, being like divine mind. In everything, in every thought, in every action, more and more, connecting yourself back, catching yourself. So, the bonds are the ways that we think. I'd like you to imagine a ladder. And this ladder has 10 rungs on it, from the floor all the way up to the top of the ladder. And at the top of the ladder is the highest rung. And at the top of the ladder are the words, "This is my desire," and it's aligned with spirit. Again, this is my desire, and it's aligned with spirit. What is your desire? My desire is to manifest abundance into my life. Perfectly aligned. We came from an abundant source. My desire is to feel a sense of well-being in my body at all times. Perfectly aligned. My desire is to have divine spiritual relationships in my life. My desire is to get the job that I am working towards getting. My desire is to live in a place where I feel most peaceful and most loving. My desire is, and these, whatever it is, it doesn't make any difference. It's the 10th rung. It's the highest rung. It is your spirit aligned with your desire. All right? So here it is. It's right up here. Now you have to ask yourself the question, what is it that I offer up to this 10th rung desire? All right? A 10th rung has to have, in order for it to manifest and show up in your life, it has to have thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that match up to that. And if they don't match up, you get out of harmony. See, thoughts are energy. Like everything in the universe, it's energy. Einstein said that nothing happens until something moves. The mistake that most of us make is that we attract what we don't want because our thoughts are on what we don't want. Or we continue to attract what's missing in our life. We're not at number 10, we're at about number 3. And what are some of these on these lower rungs? It probably won't happen. It's very difficult. These kinds of things have never happened for me before. I don't have this kind of luck. We've got the wrong people in the White House. The economy is bad. I don't have the ability to make it happen. I don't really believe it's possible. It's about what kind of energies we have within ourselves that we offer to what our desires that are aligned with spirit in order for them to manifest.
Your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind begins to transcend the limitations that you've had before in your life, and you stop seeing yourself. You stop seeing yourself as a human being. You begin to see yourself as a spiritual being, as the spiritual essence of who you are. And you literally, Mark, you step outside of your body, and you begin to observe it, and you begin to laugh at all of the folly of it and the foibles of it and the worries that it has, and because you begin to see yourself as an infinite being, not restricted by your birth and by your death and by your height and by your weight and by your looks and all of those and all the things that you've achieved in your life and your acquisitions and all of that. You don't define yourself that way anymore. You let go of those what Patanjali called the false self, the illusionary self, the Maya. That's not who you are. Who you are is that from which you came. And as you get into that, back into that place from which you came, you absolutely know that in harmony with God, all things are possible. I mean, it's right out of the Scriptures. With God, all things are possible. Now, I don't know how many people you got on the line, but let me ask every one of you. Now, what does that leave out? It absolutely, literally leaves out nothing. There's no thing at all that is not possible. If you can conceive of it and have that knowing and stay in spirit and do it from that place of passion, and passion is just love. I mean, God is love. I mean, that's also from the Scriptures. God is love, and he that believeth in love believeth in me. I mean, love and God are synonymous. God and good are one. They're the same thing. There's no difference between the two of them.
So look at the energy of your life, the energy of the foods that we eat, the shows that we watch, the places that you accumulate, the friends that you have, the people that find fault with what you're doing. Look at all of the way, even a simple little thing like feng shui, which is a Chinese form of how you arrange the furniture in your, it's so cool. But I've got a lady who works with me over in Maui, and every time I go away, she'll come back and she'll have this thing moved over here and this thing over there, and I'll say, but I like this here. This is where I shave. No. The feng shui of that isn't quite right, and you don't want to have a red next to you. I just listen to her. My place is one of the most pleasant and beautiful places. Of course, having it on the ocean has a lot to do with it as well. But I believe that energy is in everything. Change the energy of your life and reconnect to the energy of spirit. Spiritual energy is healing energy. And also the way that we talk to ourselves. How do you talk to yourself? If you think, here's one of my favorite quotes, the creative source in your life, here it is right here, this creative source. This source reacts to your belief in shortages with a fulfillment of your belief. If you believe there's shortages out there and you can't attract them into your life, now this is a source that is unlimited abundance. It just is a constant state of creating. It's always creating, okay? So it doesn't know anything about shortages. If you come to this source with a belief that there are shortages in terms of your life, it will fulfill your belief. If you believe that you can't be healed, that it's just impossible for you to be healed, if you believe you can't be happy, if you believe that you have to be miserable, if you believe that you can't attract the right person, if you've got something that you want to fund, some project that you want to fund, and you can't get it funded, and you come to this source with a belief in shortages, it will fulfill your belief. It only knows how to be. Remember what I said earlier. You are at one with this, and you are also at one with all of its principles. And you have to contemplate yourself as connected to, in harmony with, in rapport with this. It's like what I'm asking you to do in this program. I'm asking you to see yourself at every moment of your life when you're having a thought, when things aren't working, when you're not feeling well, when the right people aren't there. You could say something to yourself. I heard people say this, I tell people always, think from the end. Think from the end. So I was talking to a man one day down where I work out in the gym, and I said to him, he's been sick, he's got nose running, he's got, Snoopy's running out of his nose, he's got, it's disgusting. And I said, how long have you been sick, Marty? You will never believe this answer. He said, in 3 weeks, it'll be a month. What kind of thinking is that? And if it doesn't work out for some reason, I don't use blame, I don't get anger, I just simply say to myself, this is the way it is supposed to be, and I'm at peace with it. I choose to be at peace because this is peace. You want to watch the resistance. What kind of self-talk do we have? If you think about what is missing in your life, and you talk to other people about what is missing in your life, and you share a lot with what's missing in your life. I'm missing the right person. My soulmate has never showed up, I'm missing the money. I don't have them. And you talk about all the things that are missing in your life. Here's your connection to source. Remember, you're always connected. The question is, are you ready to stop living at ordinary levels of consciousness?
willing to live at a spiritual level of consciousness in which you are in rapport with that which provides everything. So if you're thinking about what's missing and you go to this universal source asking to have fixed what is missing in your life, you'll have your belief in what's missing continue to be refocused for you. In the Old Testament it says, as a man thinketh, so is he. If you think about what is missing, don't be surprised if you keep attracting what's missing into your life. If you think about what always has been, then don't be surprised if what always has been is what keeps showing up in your life. Because thoughts are energy. And the thought of it's always been this way and there's nothing I can do, resistance. What emotion am I feeling? Frustration. I want to change that. What is my guidance system? I'm going to see how in harmony am I with this energy of source, with the energy of intention. How in harmony with it am I? The source of all doesn't know anything about things being missing. There's nothing missing in this universal source, and you emanated from that. You are a piece of that. If you're always thinking about what they want for you, and there's no shortage of them, they're called relatives. I'm going to write a book someday that's going to be called Your Friends Are God's Way of Apologizing for Your Relatives. Why? Because, by the way, I gave this same talk to your relatives and they applauded even louder. Okay? Because a friend is someone before whom you can think aloud. A friend is not someone who makes demands on you and tells you what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing. There are very often, because we believe that we're related to people, we have talk, and then what happens with us is that we start talking to other people about what they want for us. And we despise what they want for us. And we get angry at them for even wanting that for us. And then we get surprised when what they want for us keeps showing up. See, self-actualizing people, Abraham Maslow once said, the difference between self-actualizing people, the highest functioning people, and everybody else is that self-actualizing people must be what they can be. Self-actualizing people must be what they can be. What can you be? What can you be?
Life is a mirror. What we attract always mirrors those qualities we have or beliefs we have about ourselves and relationships. What others feel about us is their own limited perspective of life. We must learn that life has always loved us unconditionally. Being needy is the best way to attract an unsuccessful relationship. As author Wayne Dyer says, in any relationship in which two people become one, the end result is two half people. You see, if you expect the other person to fix your life or to be your better half, you are setting yourself up for failure. You want to really be happy with who you are before you enter a relationship. You want to be happy enough so that you don't even need a relationship to be happy. Also, if you have a relationship with someone who does not love himself or herself, then it is impossible to really please that person. You will never be good enough for someone who is insecure, frustrated, jealous, self-loathing, or resentful. Too often we knock ourselves out trying to be good enough for partners who don't have any idea how to accept our love because they don't love who they are. Perhaps you have a very difficult time setting limits, and people tend to take advantage of you. You may be sending out a message that says, I do not value and respect myself. It's okay to abuse me and take advantage of me. But this does not have to be true for you any longer. Begin today to affirm your love and your respect for yourself. Look into a mirror frequently and tell yourself, I love you. As simple as this sounds, it's a very powerful healing affirmation. As you grow in self-love, your relationships will begin to reflect this love and respect as well. Jealous people are very insecure. They don't value themselves. They have no faith in their self-worth. Jealousy is really saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not worth loving, so I know my partner is going to cheat me or leave me for someone else. This creates anger and blame. If you stay with a jealous person, then you are saying that you don't deserve a loving relationship. It's often the same thing with spousal abusers. They either grow up in a family where abuse was normal and they just continue the family pattern, or they blame the world and their partners for their own lack of self-worth. Abusers will never stop the abuse pattern unless they undergo therapy. Abusers almost always have a parent they have deep resentment towards. Forgiveness is a vital issue for them. They must understand their patterns and be willing to change. If you are looking for a mate, I suggest that you make a list of all the qualities you would like this person to have, and do go beyond tall, dark, and handsome, or cute, blonde, and pretty. List all the qualities you want. Then review this list and see how many of these qualities you possess. Are you willing to develop the ones you don't have? Then also ask yourself what it is within you that could be denying or delaying the attraction of this person to you. Are you willing to change those beliefs? Is there still a part of you that believes you are unlovable or unworthy of love? Is there a habit or belief you have that pushes love away? Is there a part of you that says, I don't ever want to have a marriage like my parents, therefore I won't fall in love? Perhaps you have feelings of isolation. It is very difficult to feel connected to others when, for the most part, we are disconnected from our own selves. In this case, you need to really focus some quality time on yourself right now. Become your own best friend. Rediscover what makes you happy, what you love to do. Pamper and spoil yourself. So often we look to others to make us feel loved and connected, when all they can do is mirror our own relationship with ourselves. All of the important work we do is on ourselves. Wanting your mate to change is a subtle form of manipulation, a desire to have power over him or her. It may even be self-righteousness because it is saying that you are better than he or she is. Allow your partners in life to be as they choose to be. Encourage their self-exploration, self-discovery, self-love, self-acceptance, and self-worth. It is not true that there is something wrong with us, though. All relationships are learning experiences. We come together for a period of time. We share energy and experiences for as long as we can. We learn what we can together. Then there comes the time to part. This is normal and natural. Don't cling to an outworn romantic relationship just to avoid the pain of parting. When a relationship ends, life is giving you a chance for a new experience. This can be a time for deep gratitude, of acknowledging the good times you had together, and of appreciating all the learning experiences. Then you can release that relationship with love and get on with the next step in your life. This is a time for loving yourself with tenderness and understanding. This is not the end of your world. It's the beginning of a new phase. With love for yourself, this new time of your life can be far more wonderful than what you are just ending.
1. I don't deserve it. How is it possible for a divine creation to be unworthy? You are and always have been a piece of God. And you know by now that all beings come from non-being. The Bible itself reminds you that it's the Spirit that gives life. So where on earth did you learn to use this excuse? As a developing child, you were weaned on ideas that your worthiness is based on ego-dominated formulations making you what you do, what you have, and what others think of you. Your worth became intertwined with these ego constructs. If I do well, I'm worthy. If I don't, I'm unworthy. If I accumulate more valuable stuff and make more money, I'm worthy. If I don't, I'm unworthy. If I gain the approval of others, I'm worthy. If I'm unpopular, I'm unworthy. Like most of us, you were immersed in a culture that taught and reinforced these ideas, which are the work of the false self. Consequently, as an adult, when you see others who are more successful than you are, have more toys than you do, and enjoy reputations far greater than yours, your first impulse is to make a disconnect between your status in life and your worthiness as a human being. Years of solid training and ego development have caused you to retreat into an I don't deserve it, I'm not worthy mindset. Since these excuses come from the false self, they stay with you until you leave the planet, unless you're willing to tell yourself, okay, I understand where this kind of egoistic reasoning originated, and I can see that I still use it, but I'm practicing the excuses be gone way of life from now on. For every one of these excuse categories, I urge you to decide to start thinking something along the lines like this. Everyone in my life did what they knew how to do, and I chose to buy into it at that time. Today, I'm going to stop this insidious kind of absurd thinking and remind myself that I'm a divine being, an individualized expression of God, and therefore I will no longer entertain thoughts of my being unworthy. I've lived with them long enough, and they never have truly served my highest good. Second excuse, it's not my nature. Have you been allowed to develop as if your Creator were in charge of the process? Of course, your physical body was permitted to take the course nature dictated. You developed the height, body type and shape, hair, eye and skin color, and facial features that nature called for. But what about your personality, your emotional and intellectual development, your aspirations, your self-concept, and your spiritual awareness? Were those aspects of you encouraged to unfold naturally? The excuse, it's not my nature, came directly from the list of what you were taught you couldn't do or be that I elaborated earlier in this program. You were formulated and then crafted into the finished product that your family and culture desired. When you're told, quote, you can't do this, you can only do that, unquote, enough times, and you're willing to become the product the people around you want you to be, then you believe that your nature is what you've been told. You act on the pronouncements about yourself that you've absorbed. So if you hear that you're lazy, undeserving, or uncoordinated often enough, it ultimately leads you to adopt this as your self-portrait. If you're told over and over again that you're just like your father and he never amounted to anything, then you'll ultimately view your nature the way that others viewed your dad. Go back to the question I asked earlier in this program. Who would you be if you didn't have anyone to tell you who you are? Take total responsibility for whatever you believe constitutes your nature, reminding yourself to think in a fresh way about where this excuse originated. Try something like, I chose to allow the opinions of others to be more important than my fledgling opinions of who I was and what I intended to become. Yes, I was small and vulnerable, but it was still my choice. This kicks the old excuse down the stairs and helps you love the person you were then, causing you to tenderly undo what you and not someone else have done. While you can never change the actions of others, taking responsibility for your own life will help you make the shift to an excuses-begone existence. Third excuse, I'm not smart enough. Where do you think you learned that you were somewhat shortchanged in the brains department? Well, you were enrolled in an educational system that assigned numbers to your intellectual capacity. A test gave you an IQ number to carry around for life. You learned to listen to a teacher whose lesson plan wasn't designed for the variety of learning modes in the classroom, so all of the students were being exposed to the same instruction. At the end of the week, a test gave you a grade that measured you against the performances of all of your classmates. You all had your place on a bell-shaped curve depending on your aptitudes that day and that week and on that particular subject area. You developed a self-image based on what teachers, test scores, and academic performance indicated. You learned that you were average at spelling, above average in art, but mentally challenged in mathematics. Soon you had the makings of a great excuse, I'm not smart enough, that you hauled out whenever it was convenient. What you failed to learn is that intelligence tests only measure how well you take intelligence tests. It turns out that academic performance has nothing to do with your potential for intellectual mastery. Nonetheless, your young mind hung on to those school experiences and added them to the messages you'd already absorbed about how you're not as smart as your siblings, you've never been good at figuring out numerical problems, or you're not as talented as the kids next door. This cascade of criticism directed at your intellectual capacities can easily lead you to defend yourself from these jabs with excuses. Fact is that since you're a creation who originated in the world of spirit, you have exactly the right amount of smarts to accomplish all that you will do while you're here. It's all perfect, and so are you. To me, a person like my son-in-law, Joe, who can lay a beautiful hardwood floor and have it come out flawlessly, is a genius. Whether or not he performed well in some aptitude test, Joe's genius is displayed in his artistic sense, in that magnificent mind that arranges and positions the grain of the wood, leveling and sealing with endless measurements and computations. You, too, have all the intelligence you need for anything that ignites your creative and problem-solving passion. Believe this about yourself, and you'll never want or need to trot out the excuse, I'm not smart enough, again.
Making the change from dominance to tolerance requires disciplining ego and listening to your sacred self. I'm speaking from personal experience in this matter, and it is one of the toughest assignments my higher self has presented me with.
I have spent many years being dominated by my ego, and I have unwittingly made dominance and judgment rather than tolerance a cornerstone of my relating. My suggestions are all from my personal experience of transcending my ego-driven instincts. Making the transition from dominance to tolerance is especially difficult because the desire for ego satisfaction is so strong. To move toward the tolerance that your higher self encourages and away from your ego-driven need to control and judge, you will want to examine the qualities that sustain a tolerant approach to life. To become more tolerant and less controlled by your false self, start practicing being satisfied with what is. If someone you love acts meekly towards you, your ego wants that person to be more assertive. If that person is assertive, your ego then decides to dislike assertiveness. If you eat too much, you start thinking about how nice it would be to be thinner. If you go on a diet, and all of your thoughts then will be about food. If you stay at home for a long period, your ego starts telling you how nice it is to travel. Go on the road, and you start thinking about how nice it would be to stay home. You're in a relationship and begin to imagine it would be nicer to be uninvolved. You're not in a relationship, and you start wanting to be in one. Your children are running around the house, and you start thinking about escaping. You aren't at home, and your ego starts having you think about nothing but your children. If you identify with this kind of inner dialogue, rest assured that ego has temporarily separated you from your sacred self. In its ongoing program to convince you of your separateness, it needs to separate you from oneness with the center of your being. Then it can keep you in that state of trying to dominate and control others as a way of trying to achieve your inner balance and bliss. Trouble is, you cannot get there if you are separated from the awareness of your higher self. As you begin listening to your higher self in quiet and contemplative moments, you begin relaxing and taking the pressure off. You stop the false thinking that everyone in your life needs to be dominated or controlled by you, or that others must live up to your expectations for you to be happy. People are the way they are, and your need to dominate or change them in any way is the edict of your false self. Your ego is, as usual, trying to convince you of your separateness. It also doesn't want you to catch on to how it is controlling your life, so it convinces you that if you don't dominate others, they will get the best of you. Your higher self has absolutely no need to dominate anyone or anything. This is the ticket to freedom. Right now, though, in this very moment, your ego is working to convince you that the higher self and tolerance are ridiculous ideas. Ego will argue that tolerance means permitting criminal behavior and health and social problems. Its favorite example is that it would mean permitting the Hitlers of the world to commit atrocities while we tolerantly look on. Your higher self can see beyond this logic, so of course you can too, if you are willing. When Mother Teresa was asked if she would march against the war in Vietnam, she replied, "No, but if you have a march for peace, I'll be there." When you become peaceful within, that is what you will have to give away. When you are dominated by your ego, you dominate others. If there is no inner harmony, there is no outer harmony. Ego needs the illusion of enemies in order to control you. When you are controlling others, it is because you have permitted ego to be in control. The paradox here is that you will affect the world in the ways that you wish when you cease trying to improve conditions with intolerance and judgment. It is only when you are not controlled by ego that you can choose to not control others. What you believed was power when you dominated others was actually the external activity of ego controlling you. Your impact on the world at large begins with the smaller world of yourself. You will foster freedom and peace when you are free of ego's control and know the peace of your higher self traveling the path of the sacred quest. One of the first steps along your path is learning tolerance by practicing seeing the world as it is, rather than as you demand it to be. These, then, are some of the ways that the ego attempts to rule our lives. Our goal in knowing our sacred self is to have the higher identities triumph over our lower identities. Essentially, your higher self wants you to be at peace. It wants you to know truth. It no longer needs you to dominate others. It is a very peaceful, loving place to be.
This doesn't mean that you go through life being wishy-washy and being abused and so on. What you're doing is you're avoiding the abuse. Most of the abuse and the victimization and the stuff that haunts so many people in their lives comes from their need to be right and to make the other person wrong and to prove something. If you go in with a healthy self-esteem and a healthy view of who you are, and you know that God is with you and that divineness is something that you're bringing, and you've got help, you've got guidance there with you right there at every second,
and you're going in with the purpose of making this a beautiful encounter rather than a contest of wills, and I'm going to be right and they're going to be wrong. There is no right and wrong in this. You find that it's that you just don't run into that. When Christ or when Buddha would go into a village, that they would raise the consciousness of the village just by their very presence. Your very presence as a divine soul around a situation that could erupt into something very violent, just your presence.
Here's what Saint Germain says about in the I Am discourses. The moment doubt begins to enter, more doubt rushes in. The same with the I Am. If you put your attention upon it, it rushes forth more and more. Where the conscious attention is fixed, there the energy pours. Dear ones, says Saint Germain, do you not see when you want something revealed or to be inspired in some way, do you not see, I am that? The moment you say I am, you set in motion this power that has inherent within it all these faculties. It has all substance and must take on whatever form the attention of the mind is fixed on. The I am, the name of God, is the fathomless mind of God. In reaching for understanding, the average student is but contracting the recurring memory of that which has been, instead of going into the heart of God and bringing forth that which never has been. Individuals and students many times do not and will not realize that there have been many civilizations of vast attainments which are entirely unknown to the outer world today. Atlantis and Lemuria, or the land of Mu, as credited by a few today, are but fragments of the great civilizations that have been. Like, we get this idea that it's all now in this world that we're in and it never existed before. To do unusual things, the students who wish to do this take the determined stand, I am the heart of God, and I now bring forth ideas and accomplishments which it has never been brought forth before. Consider only, I am that which I wish to bring forth. The I am presence is the heart of God. You are immediately in the great silence the moment you say I am. If you recognize that you are the I am, that whatever you declare is manifest in that moment. So, when I think about why it is that people aren't able to create the kind of miracles that this group is going to be able to create after we disperse, it's that we have to make our number one relationship, our number one priority, the number one thing in my life. I was talking about this yesterday over and over again with people, with individual people, that my number one relationship in my life, at this point in my life, is my relationship to God, my relationship to my source. It's number one. It's above my relationship to my children. It's above my relationship to any of you, but people that I teach, to people, individuals in my life that I love. My number one relationship, and your number one relationship, needs to be this I am presence that is within you, that is within each and every one of us. And when you can do this, the reason people can't do it is because our identification is so strongly tied into what our senses have told us about our life. There is a place and a possibility that miraculous things can happen, but you have to, in order to banish the doubt, in order to heal this energy body that I'm speaking about here, in order to be, you have to be in such a position that you're not asking. You're not coming from a ordinary place asking someone extraordinary to do something for you. That's sort of what we've learned in our religious model, that God is outside of us, something like a cosmic bellboy, that if we just sort of ask it to do something for us and we behave and we pay a certain amount of money and we go to the right temples and we do the right things, that this external being will will then provide us with favors, and that this God has the ability to heal, but it withholds it depending upon what mood it's in and so on. And that's a very different concept that I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a concept of God that says that we are all pieces of God. Like T.S. Eliot said, we shall not cease from exploring. And at the end of all of our exploring will be to return to the place from which we originated and to know it for the first time, to know it. You don't have to die to do this. You can know it here. You can know it now. You can say to yourself, as the I Am discourses say over and over and over again, the I Am is the divine work of God. And you are capable of saying I am. And you don't want to add anything after I am that isn't consistent or harmonious or in rapport with God. That is the all-creating knowing, the all-knowingness. We all know everything. There's a higher self within each and every one of us. There's a highest self which is omniscient and omnipotent, all-powerful, and everywhere at once.
If I have a simple tulip bulb in my hand, and I ask you to look at it and say, what is it? You'd say, well, it's just a grungy mass of biological matter. I say, but look at it more closely. And if it gets nurtured in a certain way, that is, it's watered and put in the ground, it will become a tulip bulb. Why? Because it has built into it a future pull. A future pull that you can't see or dissect or find in any lab. It has a future pull, a picture that is part of its DNA, part of its genetic inheritance. If you take a liver cell from your liver and look at it and dissect it, and it has a future pull, it will always be a liver cell. It will never be anything else. In order for you to be able to manifest magic, real magic in your life, miracles, you must first be able to conceive of it. You must be able to conceive of it, and that means no doubt. And the doubt comes by shifting to a knowing rather than a belief. All of this stuff, Deepak and I are talking now about taking a group, making a movie, and taking in this movie a group of babies that say 100 of them, and as they are born, we remove them from the environment that they're in, orphans and so on, children who are to be abandoned, and we place them into a world where there is no doubt, where they get past the lie. You know, we're led to believe a lie, as William Blake said in his wonderful poem, Songs of Innocence. He said, to see the world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower, to hold eternity in the palm of your hand and infinity in an hour, we are led to believe a lie when we see with, not through the eye, which was born in a night to perish in a night, when the soul slept in beams of light. All of us are born in a night to perish in a night, in the physical world. But the soul, the spirit, resides and sleeps in formless beams of light. We are led to believe a lie, a huge lie. And the lie is that there are limitations in our life. Imagine these little children being raised in a world where doubt and impossible and can't do are never exposed to that. Anything that they can conceive of in their mind, they're able to practice. They go to fire putting out school, 101. And in fire putting out school, here's a fire over here, and you sit here, and you work on it with your mind. And you put that fire out. You know what my kids and I do after dinner? Many times after dinner in the evenings, a couple times a week, we go out and we put blankets on the grass. And in the blankets on the grass, we look up at the sky. And we kids say, I'm going to make clouds. Who wants to make clouds? I want to make clouds, Daddy. I want to make clouds. I'm going to make a rabbit. My kids, all the people in the neighborhood think that my kids are neurotic. Those Dyer kids think they can make clouds. Why not? The same intelligence that flows through them flows through the clouds. Why not shatter the illusion of your separateness and believe that? Imagine a whole curriculum, a whole world in which you were raised to know that there was no doubt. And you can transcend that doubt. And when you do, you begin to see that miracles, synchronicity become very much a part of your life.
And this principle of contemplation is so intriguing to me. How many times I have said to my children, contemplate yourselves surrounded by the conditions which you intend to produce. You get what you think about, whether you want it or not. This thing that we call our thoughts is really the highest place within us, and we can use them to be thoughts that are aligned and think like God thinks, or we can use them as excuses and misalign ourselves and remind ourselves that God doesn't need any excuses. And so as you think of yourself as a God-realized being, you won't be doing that either. Contemplation is the continuous use of your thought process. How you use your thought process to train your mind in a new way. Remember, we are training ourselves in this seminar to elevate our concept of ourselves to a place that matches what it is that we would like to live out and attract and be in our lives. That's what we're doing. We're shifting our conception of ourselves and beginning to see ourselves as pieces of God from which we can never be disconnected. Secondly, your thoughts are actually like things that act to begin the process of materialization. So that what you think about ultimately becomes what you become and what becomes of you. If you contemplate with thoughts that match originating spirit, which is Thomas Troward's word for God, if you contemplate with thoughts that match originating spirit, then you will have the same power as originating spirit. That's an alarming thing to think and say. As you begin to contemplate in the same way that the creative force of the universe contemplates, then what you do is you shift out of your excuse pattern of things can't happen and won't happen into I am thinking in such a way that originating spirit thinks, and therefore if I continue to stay there, I will have the same power as originating spirit, because you are originating spirit. You can't be separated from it. When contemplation is a vibrational match to originating spirit, you gain the cooperation of divine mind, attracting and fulfilling your desires. Let me say it again. When contemplation is a vibrational match to originating spirit, and everything is vibration, every thought is vibration, you gain the cooperation of divine mind, attracting and fulfilling your desires. Contemplation, next, is therefore a kind of action in and of itself which sets into motion all of the creative forces of the universe. You want to set into motion the energy that will allow you to attract into your life what you want. You want to be not thinking about a BMW in your driveway or a new Rolex on your arm. You want to be thinking like God thinks and living from those cardinal virtues, and recognize that you do not attract into this world what you want. You attract what you are. And as you become it and it becomes you, it becomes limitless, and a BMW makes no difference. When you rely on excuses, you allow your false self, the ego, to contemplate what you do not want or what you cannot have. Do you get that? When you rely on excuses, you give evidence that you contemplate what you can't have or what you don't want. Every time you come up with a reason why you can't do something or you can't have something, you are giving evidence that you are contemplating in a way that is not aligned with originating spirit. Therefore, you lose the power of originating spirit. Return to the ego. Every excuse you ever use for anything is evidence that you're contemplating what you can't have. Now, why you would want to contemplate what you can't have or what's missing in your life is a meme handed to you because basically you've been taught you're not worthy of all of that. God is worthy of that. You're not God. There's nothing more blasphemous than saying you are God, except we've been saying it here a lot. The presence of excuses in your life is evidence that you contemplate what you can't have or can't do, rather than the infinite possibilities that are inherent in your divine self.